Do we cuddle people too much and interfere their progress to reach potential? Let's find out. Hello my beautiful subscribers, Rasa the dancer is here, and recently I've been having these thoughts about that there's a lot of people around me these days that cannot see the difference between what I say cuddling somebody into doing something, or thinking that being soft around them and making them feel good is what's going to be better for them to achieving their goals, and not seeing the difference how you can still be kind and compassionate and inspiring and yet not cuddling. I feel like people can't see the difference between the two. They can't see how one is more harmful and building a person that is actually not really well functioning and not actually helping them to achieve potential. And the other one is just the same version of what they think, but it has a completely different outcome. So I want to break that down because I think it really works well in the teaching approach that we do, whether in dancing like I do, or any other skill that you're actually trying to learn. And actually it's easier to incorporate also in daily life if you understand the differences in these kind of methods and what one does and what the other one does. So we're going to talk about that, couple of different approaches to actually motivating somebody and being there for somebody. And let's see if you actually agree with what I have to say. Okay, first, you might not expect that I want to start with this, but there's a huge difference in where people come from, which country and which culture. And a lot of the people will label somebody depending on where they come from, not understanding that it's who they are, it's not what they do that is wrong or right, it's how they were raised. And the levels of acceptance of whether being super tough on somebody or super soft, the acceptance and the tolerance is different, and even how we feel about those things is different. And a lot of people really just gonna say something to somebody as a norm rather than understanding of who that person is and how they were raised, in order to understand what levels of what kind of approach you can even take. For example, I'm from Lithuania. So if somebody would come to me, if I'm learning a skill, and let's just put dancing as an example. If I come as a beginner to a dancing class and my teacher, for example, is trying to help me out and motivate me. So if I am doing something, I'm a very self-aware person and I know when I'm doing it right and when I'm not. And if I'm not doing it right and my person comes to me, like the teacher, and says, "You're doing so great, you're amazing, you're amazing," I would actually have no respect for my teacher because I think they don't know anything. I would think, what's wrong? Clearly, you are not an expert in this, because if you would be, you would not be saying this. Now, I don't want somebody to say you are shit. You know what I mean? I don't need somebody to be rude. It's like it's a difference, but somebody who would say that, and I would say to them, "Listen, I know I'm not doing well, but I'm gonna practice and we're gonna get there." And they would be like, "Yeah, but you're doing much more amazing than you think." And they would lose me immediately. Because it's not how I operate, not how I was brought up, you know? So it's very important as somebody who wants to motivate somebody to listen to what other person is saying, to understand where they're coming from, how they were raised, in order even to choose to use an approach on somebody. So that's the number one thing. So when people, trying to be all soft and lovely and jubbly, just that's not always the best approach to start with, because you need to first know where that person is coming from. A second very important thing to understand is also not every skill set that somebody is learning is required the same kind of motivation. So for example, if I am going to a dance class and I'm practicing somebody and I have a trainer shouting at me, come on, push through, push through, push through. It's like, it's unnecessary. That is not motivating unless I'm trying in a competition to do as many spins as possible and I'm getting dizzy and I'm about to give up and then somebody's shouting that at me. But if it's a normal dancing class, that is not inspiring and it's unnecessary. Now, if you go to a gym and your goal is to pump and, you're just starting and you are, giving up easy or something and somebody's shouting to you, come on, you can do this, push through. What, are you a little girl? Maybe that's more motivating, maybe it's a little bit more appropriate because it's a different thing, you know what I mean? So a lot of people also don't understand what is it that we're trying here to do in order to understand what kind of approach to take to motivate somebody to achieve their goals. Now let's go into the details of motivation. I truly believe as a norm, and again, as I say, there's so many details in it, and a really good teacher or a motivator or something, they would recognize the differences in people to take the approach. However, as a whole, the best approach is the truth and then encouragement. The truth is everything. If a student comes to me and they are really bad, and I'm talking like big amounts of bad, okay? Like, when it questions you whether they're ever gonna make it bad, okay? I will never tell them they're doing fantastic. I will always say the truth. They will do something and they will say to me, okay, this is not happening. I would say, yes, we are struggling right now. Both of you and me, but we are struggling together. And I know through my years of experience that it cannot get worse. It can only get better through practice. Like, you cannot practice and get worse. It just doesn't happen. So how quick we're gonna develop, we shall find out. Time will show. So let's not focus on that. Let's focus on the fact that we know that if you do it more times, it will get better. So let's just keep at it. I'm here with you and we're gonna do this together. And it's gonna be tragic in the beginning, but you already know it's gonna be tragic. So, let's just do this. Telling the truth is very important. Not the truth is like, yeah, you're so bad. But telling the truth is important. So cuddling, why it doesn't work? Somebody who would be like, no, you're doing great. You don't worry about it. You will get there. Don't worry. It makes a person to live in some sort of fake reality and not actually grasping the things that they're struggling with and trying to really reach their potential. They actually live in this world of, it's like, oh, this is not bad, when actually it's not even close to being not bad. People need to know that it's not good, but people also need to know statistically that this is possible and how you can get there. You need a program, you need direction, you need to know that it's not bad to not know what you're doing, but now if you do this, you will get better, right? So that's why I don't like cuddling. I don't like people who lie to people. And they lie to people because they have no other way to motivate them and to make them want to be better. So for me, this is the key, honesty, and then encouragement. And encouragement is, as I said, having a plan, having statistics, having an example of who was really bad and then made it. Having yourself to be there, like, listen, I will be there. If you work with me, I'll be there. So you're not gonna be there on your own. I'll be there with you. But we need to acknowledge the truth, and we're gonna have to have a plan, and then we just have to attack it and just keep at it, because we need time for anything to work. And then I think that's super encouraging. And then people are a little bit more motivated and they actually are self-aware. So when you let them out in the humanity, they actually use the same approach in day-to-day life that they would when they're learning dancing. So if in the dance classes, this is the approach, then when they go to work and they meet a person and they need help, they can use the same tactics to help their friend rather than saying, no problem, you will see, everything will turn out to be okay. Nothing ever turns out to be okay. You just at some point die and it doesn't matter anymore. But it only turns out to be okay if you're actually trying to make difference in your life or somebody else's, and you're trying to work really hard and you're climbing through hurdles. Nobody has an easy life. It just doesn't happen. Always something bad happens. So to have that kind of like, oh, everything is gonna be okay, you just keep smiling at it, you know. Smiling is great, but having a plan, having, you know, an understanding how world works and having the skills to actually go and achieve something, that is so much more important and so much more motivating. Another really important thing that I think we should talk about is laughter. Having fun with it, you know, no matter how difficult. Do you notice that when things are really bad, we are sad, but when things are tragic, it's funny? Have you ever noticed it? Like if it's really bad, we tend to be really sad about things, you know? Something happens, we are sad about it. But when it's tragic, and I mean like something bad happened, then something bad happened again, and then everything just going so bad, and you're just sitting there and you can't help yourself but smile, or you're talking with your friend and you're just both laughing at it. So it's one of those, because it's just so bad, the only way to survive is to laugh through it. So I truly believe in it when you're learning a skill as well, and especially with dancing. You know, there's a time you focus and you're trying to learn techniques and everything, but now and then having a little giggle at yourself or your friends and just giggle at each other, it's so good, because you know, when you're learning something, especially dancing, things will go wrong all the time. So unless you are able to laugh at yourselves, it becomes too serious, and then it's just difficult. So to release the difficulty and the pain, sometimes to have a laugh at all of the disaster that is happening is the best medicine. And one more thing I will say, anger. Some people are motivated with anger. And again, if I put an example, let's say a gym. So if something happens to me and I'm super angry, going to the gym is great motivator, because you just explode. You release that anger in your training, you push through it, boxing, whatever it is. In dancing, anger doesn't work, because it's not about pushing through it. It's more about developing a skill. So when you do something, if it's unsuccessful, what you do, let's say a spin, right? You're spinning and you lose balance and you angry, you actually can't spin. Like, you have to calm your mind in order to do specific skills. So anger doesn't work. So all you can do is be in a completely meditative state and just whether laugh about it, or you have to kind of just not be there. It's almost like you are empty and you're just remembering the technique, going through the range of motion. So it's a very interesting thing as well, like where what emotion works. And in dancing, less anger and just more, you know, fun. And I think that's so much easier to have the right skill. And one more thing I want to leave you with. So I am not for cuddling, and hopefully now we see the difference between cuddling and actually being positive. But one thing I am for is sometimes understanding is not everybody always needs you to say the right thing. Sometimes you just have to say what they need to hear. So a perfect example would be if, you know, your girlfriend or something breaks up with a boyfriend and they come and they start, you know, venting about it. They, in that moment, not always need you to tell them the truth. Sometimes they just need you to say, you are the most beautiful, the guy never will find anybody else, or whatever. And then there will be a day when you will have a serious conversation of how it could be actually helpful. But not in that moment. And it's like, to impose always the truth is just so, it's not a nice thing to do. Like, you know, some people are so proud of always saying, you know, the right thing. It's like you're not being a bigger person, because anybody could be direct like that, but to have some sort of vulnerability and actually common sense of what the moment requires. You know, it doesn't require you to be, you know, all that. So I think that is also very important, and the way it would relate into dancing as well. Sometimes when the person is in a moment of breaking, this is not the time to be the wise ass and be like, yeah, but no, this is the time to say, listen, it's gonna be okay, we're gonna make it. So even though I'm not for cuddling, you have to pick your moments and not assume that every moment is an education. Sometimes you just there, somebody just needs you to be there, and that's it. Thank you so much for watching. Now I'm really curious to know what you think about what I just said. Do you think I am a Lithuanian tyrant with the whip, tuk tuk? Or do you think what I said actually makes sense? And if so, can we try and implement it? Can you, again with my whip, phew, phew. If you like what I say, do what I say. Okay, and on that note, I shall leave you in peace. Make sure you subscribe to this channel. Let's keep on talking all these subjects that's gonna make us better in life and in dancing. And now I'm gonna leave you with these other motivating videos where you can check out and hopefully be motivated to dance and improve better. And I will see you very, very soon. Mwah!